Bitcoin showing some potential more signals of some short-term downside, which, if confirmed, would include a likely pullback, which I think a lot of people are probably looking for, which might actually be a signal in and of itself. Anyways, other than that, we can just jump right in this charts right here, right now. First, starting off with a revisiting of the Friday statistics for Bitcoin to get an overall idea for the likely range for today. Now, I will say that this is going to be second fiddle to the rest of the stuff that we do talk about, but in this case, Friday does actually have the second highest probability to close positively in Bitcoin's history at 58.33% of all daily closures closing positively on Friday, that is. And we do see that it actually does have some of the lowest returns as well on both sides, actually. 2.02 on the positive side and 1.86 on the negative side. So let's see what that would kind of look like from today's open. 202 to the upside would put Bitcoin basically back around the highs, 52,200. And 186 to the downside would put Bitcoin actually below the range lows, especially on a closing basis, closer to about 50,300, which I do think does warrant a little bit of concern. So I still remain with my overall thoughts here on Bitcoin before we get into the rest of this, that sideways, basically about 51,000 bucks is going to be considered good for the Bitcoin boolas, but they need to hold it for likely a while. I do think that the upside for this month of February is very likely over, as we'll explain in a second. And basically the best case scenario for the boolas is just sideways for another week, maybe even another 2 weeks and more that I look at it. Anyways, going into our February statistics, I do think that we should revisit this as of right now. We have seen that February is actually the most likely month in Bitcoin's history to close positively. I know a lot of people are very obsessed with October, but statistically speaking, February has the most positive closures, 10 out of 13 closing positively, and really it's 11 out of 14, but the first closure on February that we saw like in 2009 or 2010, we just don't really have data for it, so I couldn't really include it here. But the average return on those positive closures for February has been about 24.25%. Okay, we have yet again another example of this working out here. So we'll go over to the monthly time frame and kind of see where we're at in the grand scheme of things. And from the open to right now, it's about 21.5% move to the upside. If you go to the actual high, that's about 24%. So yet again, we do see these monthly statistics playing out very close to the T. We've seen this now for, I think, 7 or 8 months in a row, which it's not necessarily like supposed to work like that. Just like, obviously, it's an average. We do expect variance there, but it is interesting that in the last like 7 to 8 months, they've actually been pretty much playing on like to the T with those statistics. Which is just super interesting to me. Maybe it is not to you, but maybe I'm just TA nerd, maybe I'm just optimistic, which I do think is a statistical advantage when it comes to this. Anyways, let's go now into, of course, our daily momentum. So we haven't visited this in a while, but I did just want to point out that the daily time frame for Bitcoin on both spot price action and CME right here is showing downside momentum as long as Bitcoin's closing on a daily closing base below 52,300. So that is why I do keep, or one of the reasons why I do keep on saying that if bears are going to push price down, you'd expect it in the near term. You'd really expect it within this next week spread between now and like end of next week. If bulls can hold it here for like a week or two, okay, it's probably going to flip around to be bullish yet again. So sideways crab market, good for the bulls. But in the meantime, if we're going to see the bears actually push price down, this would be the most likely time for that to be happening, because not only do we have this present, but simultaneously we do see that daily time frame for CME does have potential for bearish divergence between even these most recent local highs right here, which usually isn't like a death sentence, but good enough for a short-term downside move. But certainly building up major divergence between this high from February and the highs that we saw back in November and December, where RSI was significantly higher and, well, price action was significantly lower. So that is divergence by the definition of it. And it's not just present here on the daily time frame, it's present on the 2-day time frame as well, as we do see potential local high being confirmed as of right here, again, presenting that divergence. So, you know, on the 2-day time frame, I think this becomes a little bit more obvious in terms of where this resolution would be favoring the bears, just basically below the last 2-day low, which is 50,630, especially on a closing basis. That would certainly do it for me. At least a move down to like 49,000 bucks after that. Personally speaking, I don't think that things would stop there. I do think that we'd see a move down to like 46 or 46.5, somewhere around there. And that would be the next sort of potential for a higher low. And if that fails, then you're probably looking closer to 41,000 bucks. But again, this is only if really bears take over in this next week. So that's why I kind of want to sound the alarm bell a little bit in the short term, because I think it's very unlikely that we see continuation in the short term here to the upside. Again, if that's going to happen, you're probably looking at early March, mid-March maybe. If anything's going to happen here, it's probably going to be downside. That is assuming that we actually get a move outside of the range. So it can be favoring the bears in the short term, I suppose. Anyways, what else do we have? Yes, I think we've actually spoken about pretty much most of the things I wanted to get through on this video, but we can go over here to the HPDR bands. We can see on the HPDR bands, the daily time frame is showing that contraction and volatility, while it is kind of, making its first foray back down towards the median, we would kind of expect to move closer to the median, which as of right now is 50,000 bucks. So in the very, very short term, that is definitely possible. That is definitely possible here. Of course, we are going to see a weekly closure for Bitcoin CME today. Still long term, this is good. Like I don't want my message to get mixed up with anything else. Like very, very short term, if anything's going to happen, yeah, probably bearish. But the longer that holds sideways, the more naturally it'll inherently turn bullish. And long term, regardless of what happens in the short term, I mean, this is still bullish. And in fact, when I look at the weekly, I mean that, a couple weeks of sideways here plus continuation looks actually like that is not that crazy. So we'll see what March brings. I guess this video is like pretty short right now. We can actually we'd actually go back on over here. We could look at Ethereum, Bitcoin. I think that this one's also deserving of some interest, just because we are seeing the first higher low go in. The weekly's already put in the first higher low right here on a nice, actually it wasn't a bullish engulfing dildo, but follow through nonetheless from it. And we do have a potential for an actual weekly reversal, fully confirmed, not just with the higher low, but with the higher high. If this one does continue back up above the January highs, which is about 6 million Satoshis, or a little bit above 6 million Satoshis, especially on a closing base, if that does happen, we're likely looking at this one popping back up closer to 7 million Satoshis overall, maybe even on a pretty quick move. Looking at the monthly over here as well, again, kind of same thing. We do see potential for hidden bullish divergence on monthly RSI, as monthly RSI is making lower lows alongside higher lows on price action. So again, this is, I mean, if you are going to be bullish on Ethereum and Bitcoin, Ethereum Bitcoin pairing, which you'd probably be bullish on Ethereum and Bitcoin as well, I guess, just by extension, you'd really be looking somewhere around this 55, this green moving average here anyway. So, a lot of things going for it. On top of that, we do see the monthly jewel is going to potentially turn white for the first time since like beginning of 2023, when a lot of this downside really started to occur. So that would be indicative that the long-term volatility is starting to wane here to the downside, and the next logical thing, or the next thing that we'd most likely see from this posturing, is an upside move based upon that as well. So again, I do think that this is indicative of overall rotational markets going on, which is a sign of long-term market strength and long-term market health. Doesn't mean that you can't have pullbacks and can't have corrections here and there. Yeah, absolutely, of course. But it is what it is. It is what it is. Anyways, anything else? Yeah, you got bullish divergence on the weekly time frame building, and you got bullish divergence on the bi-weekly time frame about to be confirmed. Yeah, at the end of this weekend as well. So I said it's a pretty damn good opportunity actually for Ethereum. Not only that, but Ethereum's actually, now that I recognize it, bouncing off of the 200 simple. So finding the slows there, this does look like it's likely poised for higher from here. And it'd kind of be hard to imagine a market where Ethereum Bitcoin pair rallies, but you see like the rest of the market, like the pairs versus US dollar being Ethereum USD and a Bitcoin USD going down. Like we just really haven't seen that like ever for like a prolonged period, is what I'm trying to say. So something to be cognizant of. Again, this is very similar to what we did see in 2017, I believe. So this would like really be that first major low to kind of spin it off. I suspect that if things really are going to pick up from here, this is where you would expect it from, basically. All right. I think that's it for today. I am still in the process of setting up my new computer. I'm really excited about it. It's absolutely fucking massive and very, very powerful. But I didn't get my damn keyboard until late last night, so I didn't really have a chance to set it up until today. And now I'm massively underslept, but all good. So next week, live streams, back at it again. They're going to be a little bit earlier. I've listened to the Twitter posts, and it seems like the majority of people are cool with I think it was 7 a.m. UTC. What? 6 a.m. UTC? I don't know. Something like that. No, 7 a.m. UTC. Yes, 7 a.m. UTC. So, what? We're not UTC. We're like UTC plus 4. Anyways, Elsa's asking questions in the background, but she shouldn't be talking at all because she wasn't called on and she's also a woman. Anyways, well, it's Dubai. Kidding, okay? If the sheikhs are listening, I'm just joking, all right? I love your country or city, I think, or I don't really know what it is. Kingdom. Anyways, I'm just sounding like an ignorant fool, and I am, okay? You have to cut me slack, and I'll just cut things off right there before I say anything that's more insensitive or awful. By the way, speaking of insensitivities, I learned on Twitter yesterday from someone who I have not confirmed, maybe I'm being trolled, you tell me, that the word bula is actually very offensive for Indians or Pakistanis. So I don't know. If you're Indian or Pakistani, let me know. I was unawares. But I can't promise I'm going to stop using it because it's just such a good fucking word, man. At least Bear Oz, is that offensive? I don't know. All right, we'll end it right there. As always, wish you the best. Take care. Much love. See you hopefully tomorrow.